And the first question is it haram to put up a makeup? For a lady to put a makeup is not haram at all. If that question ends there, that is it haram to put a makeup is not haram, as long as that makeup is for the husband and not for the public. And if you are using something which is najis in the makeup, of course, that is a different question altogether. We must see that the ladies do not use anything that is najis. If it is known to be najis, then that must not be used. But the makeup itself is not haram. The Prophet said that when a wife makes her up for her husband, there is a sawab for her, rather than saying that it is haram. But when a makeup is being done for the people who are not mahram, who are na-mahram, then of course it is haram. So when ladies come to majlis, for example, they come here for khushali, let us say, or an ordinary event where they have some makeup upon them, that makeup is not haram because they are coming to attend a majlis where there are ladies. But if they don't put hijab and the intention is that they show off to those who are not mahram, then of course that is haram. There is a question again here which asks about, on the 7th of Safar we celebrated the wafat of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, whereas we know that other Shia Muslims say that it is the wiladat of Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, and the Majmu'ah also agrees with that. How do we explain the change? Now, there is no doubt that 7th Safar is also the birthday of Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam. That is not a point at issue. Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam was born on 7th of Safar, and perhaps that is the only date in which there is no dispute among the historians, which has been accepted by all. But as we know, the Shia Ithnashidis do not celebrate any occasions of joy during Muharram and Safar. And it's for that reason that Imam Musa ibn Ja'far's wiladat is not celebrated during Mah Safar. And just for the sake of making a provision for that, not that it is any religious date, 7th of Rajab was fixed up by us as Imam Musa Kadhim Din, only with one thing in view, that he is our 7th Imam. Rajab is Islamic 7th month in the calendar, and 7th Rajab will be the 7th day of the 7th month of Islamic calendar, and that's why I will say let us keep it on that day, but it does not religiously bind anyone. But definitely Muharram and Safar are not the months of joy. The Ahlul Bayt themselves have said, the Shias are those who are joyous when there's an occasion of joy for us, and who have grief when there's an occasion of grief for us. But Imam Hassan alayhi salam's wiladat, shahadat on Safar 7th, this was decided when Agha Burujardi Marhum, who used to be our Mujtahid A'lam from 1945 to 1960, was given the dates by our community to certify and ratify the dates. And we at that time celebrated Wafat of Imam Hassan on 28th of Safar, along with Payghambar's Wafat. Agha Burujardi wrote back to say that while the date of Payghambar's Wafat was 28th Safar, according to his own research and investigation, the Wafat of Imam Hassan took place on 7th of Safar. With the recommendation of Ayatollah Burujardi, we did effect certain changes in our calendar. Among those changes, one was that of Imam Hassan alayhi salam's date of Wafat. I believe that the presence of hijab in Islam was as a means of preservation of society in general. However, many women maintain that hijab is only for women who stay at home and not for women going out to work and to study. Could you please clarify this matter? Well, hijab is there for all. Whether a woman goes out to work, to study, or is at home, hijab is for all. The meaning of hijab is not only the dress. This has been misunderstood. There was a time when there was hijab, we used to call it chadar, and our ladies donned chadar. That chadar, which we know in East Africa, those of you who have been in East Africa and other parts, was put on as a dress, and sometimes we could see our women putting chadar on their head with so much of head exposed and the hair being seen. Now, according to Quran Majid and according to the ahadith of Payghambar, the most important thing to be hidden in hijab is the hair. As we all know, that when we ask ladies to go and stand up for prayers, they have got to put that hijab so that the namaz is sahih, otherwise namaz is batil. And in that namaz, they put on chadar in which they hide their hair. So to hide the hair is the main thing. So if there is a complete chadar with so much of hair exposed, that is not hijab. So it was not chadar which was important. What was important was hijab-e-shar'i, that means hijab according to Sharia. So it has got to be that which hides the hair and goes around the face, that which hides the chest, that is most important. Quran is very explicit about it, that the dress must be drawn to hide the chest, the bosom, that there must not be seen any shape of a woman as far as the chest is concerned. So the chadar, as we used to wear, while it hid the body, it did not hide the hair. If it hid the hair, then it was a proper chadar. Otherwise it was not proper. So now, what about hiding the face? Agha Khui and Agha Hakim, anyone Ayatollah Khomeini, all of them say that when there is a possibility of a fitna, when there is a possibility of fitna, that means when there is shahwat coming up, when somebody is there whose eyes, whose sight, whose vision is not that innocent, and a woman is the first to notice this. At that particular time, when those who look at her are not as innocent as one would like them to be, at that time it becomes wajib for her to hide her face. Now, this is the meaning of hijab, and with that hijab, it does not mean that a person has now a license to talk to any mahram she likes. So, hijab begins with isolation of mahram from mahram, unless it is absolutely necessary, and then it comes to the type of dress that it should be worn, whether one goes to study or whether one goes to work with that hijab. Now, in her hijab, she is working in an office. There are so many people who come for work and go away. That is not haram. But what is haram is that sort of an exchange where there is a possibility of any vice creeping in. There, of course, the woman will have to guard, because hijab is that sanctity which has been given to a woman, that Islam does not entertain permissive or promiscuous society. There is a question here which asks about, in wajib ghusls, are we allowed to tint or color or dye hair with mehndi and kalaf? Yes, you are. Mehndi and kalaf does not prevent water from reaching hair. That mehndi can be applied even to your hair, and it can also be applied to your hands. Kalaf also. What is important is anything that forms a layer separate layer which prevents water from reaching it. It's not for me to decide. If you are putting a paint, you yourself would know, does it form a layer to prevent water? If it forms, then wuzu is batil, there can be no wuzu, and there can be no wuzu. But as far as henna is concerned, mainly, or kalaf is concerned, no layer is formed, and therefore it is allowed. Wajib or sunnat ghusl, or even wudu. There is a question here, which is about this present day, when hundreds and thousands of Muslims are dying of starvation. Is it wise and fair to have niyaz in these countries, where everyone can afford a decent meal every day, and should we give to the needy, especially in Ethiopia, Bangladesh, etc.? Wouldn't that be a far more charitable and therefore more sensible act? While we don't dispute that as human beings it's our duty to see that we help all the human beings who are suffering. But there is something which I can't understand, and that is, why place it in comparison with niyaz? Why not say it exactly what we want to do? We want to help those people who are starving in Ethiopia. It's our duty as human beings to do so. In the balance, there is nothing else that hangs to compare with it. Because if there is niyaz that is objectionable, then the food we eat at home also can be objectionable. So niyaz doesn't come. There is no need to compare it, or rather weigh it against niyaz. What we should understand is our responsibility, that we must help. And as we know, we have already put up an appeal to the Jamaats. The World Federation has done that. And the Jamaats have been requested to give it widest possible publicity, so that whatever fund is raised can be given to that starving humanity in Africa in the name of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, whom we are in the process of remembering for the starvation which took place in Karbala for 3 days. So, we don't say this. Of course, there is one reservation. If there comes a time when we have a choice between niyaz and helping a starving person, and there is no other way. If the only alternative is either have niyaz or give it to Ethiopia, then of course we would rather give to starving person and not do niyaz. But there is no such alternative today. When we can enjoy lots of meals at home and in hotels, why don't we put those things in the balance? We have got to cut into our own expenses if we want it. Niyaz, does it prevent from helping the poor? It does not. Therefore, there should be no comparison. But as far as helping the poor, the starvation is concerned, we are all out for it. It is our religious duty to see that as far as possible, we help the starving human beings. There is a question here about martyrdom. Why do we do martyrdom? And is it not just enough to shed our tears on Imam Hussain alayhi salam? And why, if at all there should be martyrdom, why should it be in the form of beating the chest? Well, the answer to this is that we never tried to understand what was the meaning of Imam. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam said clearly that man baka aw abka aw tabaka ala al-Husayn wajabat lahu al-Jannah. Whoever cries and weeps on Imam Hussain, or if he cannot shed tears, he makes his face look grief-stricken, or who makes people weep on the Messiah of Imam Hussain, is eligible to go to Jannah. That is the translation of wajabat lahu al-Jannah. It does not mean that he will definitely go to Jannah. He becomes eligible. Well, Azadari mainly centered around remembering Karbala and being emotionally affected. That was the message which was supposed to create that revolutionary feelings among those who remember Karbala, that if this was the wrong done to Imam Hussain in the name of the truth, we stand by it. And that emotional affectation is something which brings tears in your eyes. So girya or riqqat, or to weep and cry, is the central theme in the azadari, so that it arouses that feeling for the defense of truth and to accept it in our life. Matam, if you go to Iraq, if you have been to Haram, when those ladies who are Iraqis come to Haram, if you observe how they do matam, they don't beat their chest. They hit on the laps. They cry, but it is their custom that they hit on the laps. As they remember Imam Hussein, or when they remember Karbala, any shaheed, they hit on the laps and they cry. That is the way they do matam. We, God forbid, but death is quite haq. Death is bound to come in all the families. Suppose I came to know, suddenly somebody came and told me, Mulla Sahib, sorry, but your father has died. What will be the immediate response and reaction? If I loved him, and his death has deprived me of certain bounties, certain good favors that he used to do to me, deprived me of the beloved one, I feel bereaved. What will I do? I'll cry. I might even raise my voice. And we all do that. Either we do this way, we might even go this way, and we might even do this way. All these are forms of expression of matam. In Iran, they beat the chest. In Iraq, we have seen they beat the laps. Whether you hit here or you hit there, it is only an expression of grief that is known in mouth. Now, what I always said, and I repeat because now it's going to be understood better, is that when Zakir comes down from Mimbar and he has just finished Masaib of Karbala and there is emotions rising high, matam should follow immediately as a sequence, so that there is a perpetuation of that grief. Nawha is being read just to remind us of that grief. And matam could at the most last for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, as long as human grief can sustain. Do you understand me? Don't try to misunderstand. That is the meaning of matam, and that is mustahab because it is sharing the grief of Ahlul Bayt. Imam Zaman alayhi salam in his ziyarat al-Nahiya says, my salams upon those ladies of Ahlul Bayt who came out of the tents on Ashura day after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. Nashiratu shu'ur latimatul khudud. They came up with hairs, with their own hair disheveled, completely unkempt, and they came up with matam upon their cheeks. So it means that that is the sunnah of Ahlul Bayt that we are following, but it must be followed with some meaning. Don't tell me, Mullah Sahib, I'm going out for a smoke. I'll refresh myself and then come and join for matam. You have broken it. You've gone out for smoking, talking, tea, and now you're coming in fresh. While the people are tired, you enter in to pull them for 1 hour. It has got to be done sensibly, and it has got to be done with that grief and continuation and perpetuation so that it has the meaning. Otherwise, it has no meaning. It is this emotional affectation which has worked the changes, and I'm positive about it, that Iran made the maximum out of this matam. It was on Ashura day with this matam and zanjeer that they succeeded in most of the things they wanted to do. And they knew that there was nothing which would whip up that emotion except Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So they made the most of it. Unfortunately, we hear now stories, but this is now not jaiz and not haram and all that. But they made the hay while the sun shone. Last time there was a question about a lady who was sleeping after namaz al-subh, and she said she understood that someone said that if you sleep after namaz al-subh, your namaz is batil. We made clarification that namaz does not become batil if you sleep after having prayed. But there is an explanation which has come, and I'm really pleased to read it. In regard to a question asked last week as to whether a namaz becomes batil if one goes to sleep, I would like to say that the Mullani was trying to press on the importance of that particular hour in the morning which should be devoted to prayers. Many people missed this point and took the wrong meaning. She went on to specify that one could go back to sleep after sunrise. Well, this is correct. Payghambar has said, and our Aimma have said, that after namaz al-subh, before sunrise, do not sleep. It is not haram to sleep, but it is sunnah not to sleep, mustahab not to sleep after namaz al-subh till the sun has risen. And after the sunrise, if you have time, you go to sleep. That is recommended in Sharia. But if you slept without committing any sin, and your namaz is not batil anywhere. So, I would rather like to see if you have any questions from this side, because here there is a fund of it. And we might go on with that, and we might not have time. I might allow a couple of questions before I start on my subject and finish it in time. Is there any doubt, anything about tahara, about masail, fiqh, or anything that you think could be explained? Yes, sir. Bismillah.
The time of ziyarat, what's the significance of facing one side and then turning slightly on the other side?
Yes. Ziyarat after namaz. Ziyarat after namaz is sunnah. And because Karbala and Makkah Muazzama fall on the same longitude, therefore we face Karbala the same way as we face Makkah. And we read Ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And since Khurasan, Mashhad falls a bit to the right, to the left here, when we were in East Africa, it fell to the right. For the reading of Imam Rida alayhi salam ziyarat, we slightly digress. And for Imam Zaman alayhi salam, we come back to again facing Makkah, because that is the place, inshallah, from where the zuhur of Imam on the first day will take place. The question is that we don't include other Aimma. We have taken Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we have taken Imam Rida alayhi salam, and we have taken Imam Zaman alayhi salam. So of course in the ziyarah, and there is no prescribed ziyarah, but normally we should say, as just now we heard this ziyarah, which was a very good ziyarah, Salamu alayka, salam upon you, O Imam Hussein, wa ala ummika wa abika, and salam upon your mother and your father, wa akhika, and upon your brother, وَعَلَى تِسْعَةِ الْمَعْصُومِينَ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِكَ وَبَنِيكَ, and upon the 9 ma'sumin who are your descendants. And then we go to Imam Rida, especially because it is a bit off the direction, and then we come to Imam Zaman alayhi salam. When we come to Imam Rida alayhi salam, sometimes we say Assalamu alayka wa ala abaika al-tahirin wa abnaika al-ma'sumin. Salam upon your fathers who are ma'soom, pure ones, and upon your children who are the ma'sumin wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So that is a significance. It is not wajib. Yusuf Bali is.
Mulla Asghar, humsna barama Quran ni andar kei jagaye અને કઈ આયતમાં હુકમ છે એનો જરાક ખુલાસો કરો.
Quran Majid ma khumsni ayat Surah Anfal ni 41મી ayat. It is Surah Anfal 41 ayat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wa'lamu and know you all, annama ghanimtum, whatever you earn, whatever you get by way of dividend and profit. فَأَنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ. There is a fifth part of it for God and for His Rasul. So that is the ayah, which is Surah Anfal, ayat number 41. And to make an easy reference, it is the first ayah with which the 10th para starts. 10th para ni pehli homs ni ayat છે કે જેની અંદર ખુદાવંદ કરીમે આપણી સર્વે કમાણી નફામાં homs લાગુ પાડ્યું છે.
They are divided in 6 parts, no, according to the ayat of Quran.
Correct. فَأَنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى. The 1/5 part of it goes to Allah, and then His Rasul, and then the dear ones and their relatives. وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. And then to the orphans, and to the poor and needy, and to the wayfarers, the traveler. In Sharia, remember that however rich a man may be, when he travels to another part of the world, and if he is destitute there, if he doesn't have money there, when he's a foreigner, a stranger, he also becomes one of those who deserve assistance. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam has explained this. The part of Allah, of course, goes to Rasul, because there is no possibility of going to give to Allah, so what we give is to give to Rasulullah. So the part of Allah goes to Rasul, and the Rasul's Ulul Qurba is Ahlul Bayt. So when Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away and died, Allah's share and Rasul's share and Ahlul Bayt's share themselves went to Ahlul Bayt, 2 by inheritance, 1 by their own right. Because Allah's share, which was with Rasul, and Rasul's share, both came to Ahlul Bayt. So this became Sahm Imam. And Yatama, Masakin, Wabn Sabil, the orphans and poor and the wayfarer are those who are from the descendants of the Prophet Banu Hashim, according to Tafsir. That became Sahm Sadat. So while it is 6 parts, 3 parts went as Sahm Imam, 3 parts went as Sahm Sadat. Yes.
What is the definition of najasat when a lady mixes up with the metal? Can you define?
Well, I heard, I don't know, because I heard that, for example, let's take an example of lipstick. Now these days there have been some research. People have come out with the ingredients of so many things. They say, for example, that lipstick contains lard, or it contains something which is made up of najis fat. If that is a fact, then of course it is najis. And then to apply it for namaz, how can it be? Or even for one to apply them on the lips. And with that lips, there is a moisture there. And if a lady is sometimes applying that which is moist, and the saliva touches it and it goes down, whatever she is taking in is najis. So this is what I thought as najis. Or even there is something which they apply here and there, if that is made up of najis, then of course makeup does not become haram. But at least she must exercise some precaution for her taharat, for her namaz and so on.
In connection with this perfume, the spirit,
Ji.
how you did, what define?
Ayatollah Khouyi has clearly said that all that goes by the name of spirit, especially the industrial one, with which varnish is made and used in perfume and scents, is bark. Well, there shouldn't be any hesitation about asking any questions, provided that we all ask for the sake of learning and for the sake of understanding more and more. The ladies, I would like to assure them that there are many masail here, inshallah. I will answer them off and on. I've given them today what they call a lion's share. or perhaps a lioness's share. The subject that I had in mind was completion of Tawheed, the way we discussed last time, and I would like to complete it this time so that next Friday, inshallah, we begin with Adalat, the most controversial topic in Islam. Today I would like to complete this particular notion of Tawheed, an idea of Tawheed that we have. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qul huwallahu ahad. I translated it last time. O Prophet, tell them that God is an absolute unity. And I made it clear that ahad is not wahid, because after wahid there is ithnain, after one there is two, but ahad does not have any ithnain after it. It's an absolute unity, there is no two after. Allahu Samad, that God is one who does not need anything. This is the translation, Khudai bi niyaz, who is not in need of any assistance, does not need anything. This is what has been translated. But actually, in Islam, Allahu Samad means that Allah whose existence does not need the conditions that our existence needs. It's very difficult to explain that ideology, but we have an existence which is limited in space and in time. Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahj al-Balagha said, and this is something which really sets a man to think, that time does not go with Allah. There is no question of time. Time goes with your notion and my notion. With this existence, we are bound by time and space. With Allah's existence, there is no question of time and space. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He never begets. That means he never issues any children. That means there is no one who can claim his sonship. Walam yulad, and he is never begotten. That means he was not given birth. Walam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad, and there isn't any existence compatible and matching his existence. When the Christians came to the Prophet and they asked him, "O Muhammad, tell us, how was Isa born?" And the Prophet said that Isa was born of the mother without father. Maryam did not marry. So they said that if you accept, O Muhammad, that Isa was born without father, of mother, then aren't we right that Allah was his father and therefore he is the son of father? Because normally there can be no birth of a child in a human environment without father being there. Here, Allah, God was father, therefore we call him father, and he is the son, and Mary the mother. So there the Prophet said, and the ayat of Quran has said this, Inna mathala Isa indallahi ka mathali Adam. The example of Isa, Jesus Christ, is that of Adam. But there is one difference. Isa was born without father, but of mother, while Adam was born without father, without mother. If you claim that because there was no father, therefore Isa is son of God, what would you say about Adam, who had no father either, and no mother? So the Christians had no answer to make. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He has never been given birth to, nor does he give forth any birth. وَلَمْ يَكُلْ لَهُ كُفْءًا أَحَدٍ, and there is nothing that can compare. When last time I compared it with light, try to understand that I was not trying to say that Allah was like light, because there is no comparison. I was trying to give an example that if light could exercise that influence, then Allah in his ultimate unity could do much more than that. But there's no comparison, because there is nothing composed. Allah is not made up of any parts. So now what happened is this, that since we have not understood, we try to think of a personal God, and then in our relationship with him, we act accordingly. It's just like young boy who wrote a letter. He needed £5 perhaps, or 50 rupees, they say in India. And he wrote a letter, "Oh God, I need 5 pounds very urgent. Can you please send it by post?" And he put it in the envelope and he wrote, "God, up, heaven in the sky," and he posted it. I don't see much difference in most of the attitude that we have towards Allah, because we haven't understood that absolute unity. Ever present Allah, present everywhere, not in the form of body. His presence does not mean partnership. Now it so happened that one of the sorting clerks in the post office found it very interesting. He opened it and he found that the boy is appealing to Allah for 5 pounds. So he thought that this was all in innocence, so he put his own 2.5 pounds, 2.50, not 5, 2 pounds 50, and he wrote a letter. "Dear so and so, I have received your appeal and I am sending you the money." He didn't write how much because he felt ashamed that the boy had asked for 5 pounds. He could not meet with his requirements of justice. The letter reached the boy. He opened it and found 2.50. So he wrote again. He said, "Oh God, I am sure that you must have sent 5 pounds because I asked for 5. But the post people are so corrupt. They must have taken out 2.50 from this. Anyway, I am happy that you have sent and responded to me." So this is this. When we raise our hands, people believe that we are raising our hands with palms facing upward because he is up there. It's not that way. We are not raising our palm up there because he's up there, because as far as up and down is concerned, is relative. Is it not relative? It is. And Muhammad Rida is sitting to the right. Muhammad Taqi is sitting to the left. Of whom? Of me. But to Murtaza he is sitting to the right, and to him he is sitting to the left. Now it all changes, so it's all relative. Right and left to me is different from right and left to you. Up and down. As far as you gentlemen are concerned, I am sitting up. But for the ladies who are upstairs, I am still down. So up and down is relative. It depends upon how you look at it. Especially if you are on a ball. If you put an ant on a tennis ball, what is up and what is down? You do it this way, the ant is down. You do it that way, the ant is up. So the directions are relative. Just to make human mind understand. Otherwise there is nothing like up and down. So, when you do like this, it's not that he is up there, and if you did that way, it doesn't mean that he is down below. No. The Prophet was asked, these questions are not new. The Prophet was asked, "Why do you tell us to do this way? Is he there up?" The Prophet said, "You do this way because this is how you beg. This is how you beg." It's a pose for begging, not for determining the direction of Allah. So when you beg this way. Of course, even if you beg to human beings, you see Allah Karim Maskeen. So you say this way. But not that he is there. نَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْكُمْ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Quran says, "I am nearer to you than your own jugular vein." You know what is jugular vein? When we cut or slaughter an animal, what we cut off is the jugular vein. In Gujarati we call it dori nas. That. "I am nearer to you than your jugular vein." Allah in Quran says, وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْكُمْ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. So it's not that he is there up. And this particular notion of Allah being ever present everywhere could not be understood by people then who wanted Allah in some human form, either as Isa, son of Maryam, or Allah sitting there on a chair, or as Yahudis believed in two Allah, or as others. They came to Imam Ali alayhi salam and they asked Imam Ali alayhi salam as to how can it be that he is here and he is there and he is everywhere. And this is a known historical fact that Imam Ali alayhi salam made him sit down and he himself with his hands put some logs and lit a fire. And after lighting that fire, Imam Ali alayhi salam asked that Christian padri to say, tell me which is the direction of the flame. And he said, Ya Ali, there can be no direction of a flame. A flame is on all direction. Because you just can't say it is this way. If you look at this way, there is a flame, and look at that way, there is a flame. It is light. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, when you can't decide about direction of a flame, which is an ordinary light, how can you decide about that, which is the creator of light? Why are you worried about this? He is everywhere. This understanding brings us to one principal thing in life. إن قوما عبدوا الله رغبة فإنها عبادة التجار. There are people who worship Allah for the sake of benefit, for the sake of some reward, for the sake of some return. These are the business people, the worship of businessmen. وَإِنَّ قَوْمًا عَبَدُوا اللَّهَ رَهْبَةً فَإِنَّهَا عِبَادَةُ الْعَبِيدِ. And there are people who worship him out of fear. If we don't do it, he will punish us. This is the ibadah of the slaves. وَإِنَّ قَوْمًا عَبَدُوا اللَّهَ شُكْرًا لَهُ فَإِنَّهَا عِبَادَةُ الْأَحْرَارِ. Imam Ali Islam is saying, and those who worship Allah not for the love of that reward, nor for the fear of any punishment, but they worship him for the gratitude they would like to express to him, for there is none except him who is worth that gratitude. That is the worship of a free man. So now what we do is that when we think of Allah, we think of a person who is sitting there, who will reward and punish, which he will definitely do, but our relationship with him is businesslike. Well, oh Allah, you do my job and I give nazar of Hazrat Abbas. It's a business, no? It's a condition. This is my need. You fulfill it and I will pray 2 rakat namaz. You do this, I will go to that. So it's just like moja kombili. We are talking to Allah in the sense of what He will give and what we will then give back. While the actual philosophy of servitude or ubudiyah is that Allah is there to look after my every need. I bow down in sajda before a presence, an existence which is everywhere, aware, omnipotent, omniscient, knows everything. He is the one who shall grant and He is the one who shall deprive. And there is no other force which works together with His. And then I say, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la wa bihamdih. I have understood it. At least I have come to understand Allah. So that is the existence which makes Muslim independent of any other power. Mine is Allah and none else. Mine is Allah. No power can frighten Him. No opposition can frighten Him. Not even at the expense or the stake of death. Because His is Allah. He will speak the truth whether one likes it or not. He will tell the truth whether people like it or not. He will follow the truth whether people like it or not. And in doing so, he might experience difficulties of boycott or even little income, loss of income, many things in life. But if there is Allah understood this way, a Muslim is an independent soul. There isn't anything that will influence him. Don't we know that Bilal, he was an Ethiopian black slave. We know that. Just see in those early days when he was still a slave and he became a Muslim, when stone was placed, a heavy stone like that, placed on his chest, and he was told that you must say that you disbelieve in Muhammad, and he used to say, Ahad, 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 one, and one. Under that load of stone, he was beaten and lashed. But answer was, Ahad, one. That is the conviction when we say Ahad. No power on earth. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. There is no power, no victory, no conquest. Nothing can come, no overwhelming power except that of Allah, the Most High. If we have understood that, there is no reason why one should be ashamed of calling himself a Muslim, or for a lady following Islam, or for a man following Islam to say that I am a Muslim and I have accepted this and there is no God but Allah. It is for this reason that the Western people in early days used to write, it is difficult to convert a Muslim because he believes in one God. And they used to call us fatalists. You know what is the meaning of fatalists? All of you, most of you are in East Africa. Don't you hear sometimes African friends, they're poor people. You give them 5 shillings. Next day he comes and says, Bana, please give me some. So we say, I gave you 5 shillings yesterday. What are you doing? I have got children, please help me. All right, I give him 5 shillings more. I will take. Don't come tomorrow. And he says, Bana, kesho Mungu. We have heard this. For tomorrow there is Allah, there is God. Haven't we heard this? We have heard so many times. Bana, kesho. Kesho Mungu. Give him today. For tomorrow there is Allah. This attitude is known in English, and especially in philosophical terms, as fatalism. All that is given away in the name of God, and man is free of everything. He just entrusts it to God and says, Kesho Mungu. This is what they say and describe us as. Muslims are fatalists. When they have entrusted something in the name to Allah, they don't care about what's going to happen next. Actually, we are not fatalists. As I explained, we were told to make all the arrangements and then leave it in the hands of Allah. But at the same time, that strong faith in unity of Allah and His existence, and that there is no power except His, was a contributing factor towards that stability and solidifying the foundation of a Muslim. When we didn't understand this, we started wavering. I have said this before somewhere. I know that the subject I have dealt with is a bit cumbersome. But it is time that we understood it that way when we stand up and we stand before Allah and say Allahu Akbar, or when we tashahhud and say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, we understand what we say. I give witness there is no Allah but one. He has no partner. Tawheed in that context has no parallel in any other religion and no other madhab except Shiaism. This is my shahid. This is the concept of Tawheed according to Ali ibn Abi Talib and Ahlul Bayt. You won't find it anywhere else. We must change. I give the example, but I'm going to give the example in English today so that my young people who understand my simple English will have the benefit of it. There was a man, an old man like me, who had a small shop. And once it so happened that he was going for safari, and he told his son, look, be careful, I'm going to give the shop to you for 1 week. All through my life, there hasn't been a single break-in or vandalism in my shop. Never. You know why? Because when I close and shut my doors in the evening, I say, Ya Hazrat Abbas, given to you. He looks after. So you do the same thing. These are the keys. Don't close in the evening without saying, Ya Hazrat Abbas, given to you in your trust. The boy was educated. And in Farsi they sometimes say, unche pidar na thawanat, pisar tamam kunat. Sometimes things which the father could not do, the son does it. So he thought the father has told me as the past, but it is half done. Let me make it stronger. So he said, Ya Allah, given to you. And Ya Abbas given to you. And he went home. And the shop was broken into. The second day when he came there, he found everything. So he bitterly wept, not because Allah had done it, but because he could not just imagine what answer he would make to his father when he came. And the father came, and the first thing he asked after a week was, how is business? As usual. And the son said, Alhamdulillah, very good. How about the security and safety? And he said, it was broken into. Huh? How could it be? You must have failed somewhere. He said, no, I paid double indemnity. I insured it twice. How? He said, I said, Ya Allah, given to you in your care. And Ya Bao, the father said, did you think my hair turned grey in the sunshine? That I am an experienced old man. Did you ever realize that I never gave it to God and I gave it to the past? Because it is God's fashion that He gives from here and gives there, and takes from here and gives there. It has been His habit for the last so many centuries. That He takes from one and gives to another. So He has taken from us and given to the robber. But if I had given to the past, then there was no possibility of things going anywhere. This is the mentality which we must change. That He is the giver and He is the taker. And that we are entrusted to His care. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.